Welcome in the Rover Sports. Really happy to be here with a great friend and a guy that's blew up on us. It's Jetscentral. His channel is rolling right now. And JC, how are you this week? I think it's 1 week after the NFL draft, although it seems like it's almost been a month ago. I mean, how have you been holding in there?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely starting to kind of sink in a little bit that June is coming up, July is coming up, and those are going to just be the dog days of summer. It's going to be a long time before, some new football news kind of occurs. But until then, we just have to kind of keep our sights set on that and just kind of hope it flies by.
So how excited are you for the preseason and for the quarterback play? Because I know that gets me so amped up.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably – of course, other than Jets football, the number one thing I look forward to as far as preseason goes, I mean, you have like your top dogs, your Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Rosen, these guys.
Mm-hmm.
You have like your mid-round guys like Mason Rudolph from Pittsburgh and your New York Giants, Kyle Lauletta.
Right.
Those types of guys, and then you get the late round guys and the guys trying to make pushes to sign on a team like Chase Linton from Marshall just signed on to Kansas City. So it's going to be interesting. Who are you looking most forward to watching this preseason other than the New York Giants?
Yeah, I'm so excited for McCarron and Josh Allen.
Yeah, that's going to be a great battle.
It's going to be such a battle. I mean, I love that. I kind of – it's funny because I kind of believe a little bit in I believe in A.J. McCarron a little bit. Like, I believe that, like, this guy should be given a chance to play at this level and see if he could start, see if he can latch on kind of like Cousins and like Tyrod did. And there's something about him. He does take chances with the ball. He does win at a high level. He is an alpha competitor. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then with Josh Allen, I mean, he's going to have to get out to a good start, but he has a huge arm. How is Dable going to use him? I bet we're going to see some safer throws from him. I'd be very shocked if Josh Allen goes to Baltimore week 1 and actually beats McCarron out. That would be tremendous for Josh Allen. So I'm excited really about the Bills. And then Baker, of course. Josh Rosen a little bit. I think Rosen is going to win. What about you with these rookie quarterbacks? What do you see kind of happening?
I want to check out a few of the later round guys. Logan Woodside from Cincinnati. I just really liked his career at Toledo. Again, Chase Linton, like I said. I think you touched on Josh Allen. I mean, going back to the first round, he was just he's such a boomer bust prospect. You either love him or you hate him, and that's kind of the case with a lot of fans, across the league, and especially for the Bills fans. I remember after the draft talking to a few Bills fans that actually live up there, and some were like obsessed with this pick, and they're like, "Oh, the savior," and then some were like, great. We just got Josh Allen, the worst out of the big four. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does. I expect him to put on a show. I really do believe in Josh Allen. I think Buffalo is a nice team. You got a nice defense in place. I think the only thing that kind of comes into question is the offensive line. They lost Cordy Glenn, and they also lost Incognito. So that's going to be an area where you might have to keep an eye on it.
Yeah, and the thing about preseason is I saw like RG3 light it up for the Cleveland Browns in preseason, and I get so excited. Our boy Bryce Petty was a preseason wonder, against Detroit. I'll still remember that. And even a guy like Kyle Slater of the freaking Broncos can go out there and throw a couple of bombs late in the game. So with Josh Allen, I think they're going to ease him in. The problem with him is I can imagine him being so up and down. And last year, Blake Bortles got social media tossed on him during a primetime game when he was skipping balls to Allen Robinson. And good for Blake, because when the season starts and everybody's kind of not focused on you and you're just out playing football, like at the 1 o'clock hour, Blake Bortles was able to weather the storm. He beat the Texans. And for Josh Allen, he's going to need to build up some equity in the NFL quite quickly for fans to really trust him.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Brian Dable has a big task at hand with getting Josh Allen's confidence high, giving him easy passes early on, just quick slants, post routes, inside breaking routes, just stuff that he's comfortable running, stuff that he's done a lot at Wyoming. Just get this guy in a groove early on and have him build that chemistry amongst the Buffalo Bills. One quarterback I just want to touch on real quick. and I want to get your thoughts on how you think he's going to perform.
Sure.
Is Lamar Jackson for the Baltimore Ravens. I think this guy's going to light up the preseason. You know, a simplified offense. He's probably going to be going up against second string and third string guys. I think Lamar Jackson could really just, you know, he could shred the preseason up.
There's a couple of throws with Lamar, like the game against North Carolina. He set his foot. He threw it 70 yards down the field. I want to see him stretch the field out completely. I want to see Lamar play super loose, show off a lot of his talents. I'm worried about him getting bogged down in the NFL. I'm worried about the week-to-week consistency, how he can throw the ball even during his pro day. I was very underwhelmed. He kept using a towel. It must have been like 200 degrees in that Louisville facility. And the out routes, he just didn't show confidence throwing the ball. And then can this guy master an offense? Petrino's offense is pretty dumbed down and simplified. Can this guy control the NFL playbook and really like control this offense? And for Lamar Jackson, I want to see him get his opportunities. I am excited about the preseason, but I'm not fully convinced in Lamar Jackson, because in the NFL, you're going to have to win from the pocket a lot. It's hard to find guys that run that are just incredibly effective. So I'm definitely like not in Lamar Jackson camp. Like I would have to see something radically different for me to change my mind.
Yeah, I think the big thing for Lamar is just building muscle, I should say, throughout this year. Just put him on the bench, let him learn, let Flacco play out this last season before you have to pay him like big boy money, and then let Flacco go, and then kind of just let Robert and Lamar just kind of duke it out, and best man win.
Yeah, I mean, I think Robert will help, and this is the first preseason where I'm excited about Ravens football, because I like Hurst, and then Mark Andrews was a much better college player than Hurst, so it's going to be fun seeing them two on a team, and I'm definitely going to watch Lamar play out his opening season. I wanted to switch gears with you. The thing I love about having Jetscentral on the show is me and him are to this point now where even if he comes into my house, he's going to set me up with questions, and that's why I love you, JC. A lot of guys, I come in, I just direct traffic. But Jetscentral, guys, check him out. All Jets, all NFL videos, breaking news all the time on his channel. It's a great, great show and channel. So as a neutral advisor, as a New York Giants fan, I'll be honest, I've never rooted for Josh McCown ever in his career, because there's always been someone more fun underneath Josh McCown, whether it was Johnny Manziel, even I guess the only time when he did all right was Chicago. But I'm really excited for Sam Darnold. I look at that game against the Lions. It's going to be kind of scary, Monday Night Football. That Lions defense still retains a lot. Patricia's a defensive guy with the same coordinator. You guys are actually 6-point underdogs there to the Lions. So as you've looked at the schedule, where could Sam Darnold break into the schedule? And honestly, are you almost rooting for him to really push Josh McCown to the brink in the preseason and even have an opportunity to maybe be awarded the starter week 1?
Yeah, I mean, you make a ton of great points regarding the Lions and Patricia and Monday Night Football. All eyes are on you. I personally want to see Sam Darnold be comfortable. Okay, if he's not comfortable by week 1, he's not the starter. We're not rushing a 20-year-old kid out there that has turnover problems. We're not doing that. That's just a recipe for a disaster. Okay, it's just you just can't do that. If Sam Darnold's not ready, don't rush him. Secondly, to answer your second question, when do I expect Sam Darnold to kind of make his debut in the NFL, or regular season debut, I should say? I'm going to say week 3, Thursday Night Football against Cleveland. I think that'd be pretty cool to maybe see a Darnold and Mayfield matchup. And it's kind of funny, too, because the whole draft process, I was looking at that game thinking Mayfield and Darnold, but I had them switch. I was thinking Mayfield for the Jets and Darnold for the Browns. Now it's vice versa. So that could be a really interesting game. When you actually take a look at the Jets' schedule, they actually have 3 games within 10 days, because they have the Monday night game, then Sunday, week 2, and then the Thursday night, week 3. That's a lot, especially if you want to run the rookie quarterback out there. So I'm going to say week 3, maybe week 4 against or at Jacksonville. I mean, that could be really tough, but I just want the New York Jets to slowly let Sam Darnold mature and grow mentally and physically until he's ready. Don't push him out there. Once he's good to go, he's going to be the starter. And I will say this, though. I mean, say if Josh McCown is playing great ball, maybe we're 2-2 at week 4 and Josh McCown is playing lights out by McCown standards, not like an Aaron Rodgers, obviously, but
right.
You might want to keep McCown in the game longer because he has the chemistry and obviously he's a great leader. And keeping Sam Darnold on the bench is not a bad thing, I don't think. What are your thoughts on Sam, and when do you want to see him?
Yeah, I look at the schedule, and I'm trying to find the breaks right now, the chink in the armor when we can put in Sam Darnold. So the tough part about Thursday is it's 3 nights to prepare, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good news about Jacksonville is it's 11 days. Theoretically, that's a very difficult place to put him into the game against Jacksonville. The thing I love is that you guys in October, you're home for a month. That's a huge advantage for the rookie for getting acclimated to the system. The Broncos, I thought that they had an unbelievable draft. So defensively, I almost love their whole roster now with Josie Jewell, who I really liked, Von Miller, Shane Ray. This is
Brad Chubb.
What?
Brad Chubb.
Oh, yeah. Isaac Yiadom and Roby's going to step in. I mean, they are – so then you have the Colts. That's a very possible landing spot again. You'll be playing Case Keenum. It won't be impossible. And then the latest I could see him is you have a bye week before the Patriots. That would be so much fun to get Darnold out then. But looking at the schedule, JC, I think that the Dolphins and Browns can both be wins. And if it's 2-1 with McCown, you're at least waiting till 2-3 probably.
I agree. I mean, the thing is with the New York Jets, though, which I feel like I want the fans to kind of understand, is that if Sam Darnold doesn't play like week 1 or week 2, don't write him off and say, oh, he's horrible. He's the next Hackenberg. He can't take any snaps. It's okay. This dude is 20 years old. Okay, that's 3 years younger than me. And he's now in charge of running the New York Jets. And everyone's labeling him as a god, as a savior, and you're the guy, and you're taking us to the Super Bowl. Just pump the brakes and let this guy work and let this guy grow. And hopefully, in time, he'll be the franchise quarterback that, the Jets fans have been deprived of for a really long time.
You know what's good news is that Sam Darnold, like with Clay Helton at USC, he wasn't an overwhelming presence, and Todd Bowles isn't the same way. So Lincoln Riley is a pretty elite-minded coach where he's best friends with Baker Mayfield. Craig Bowles pretty in charge of the whole operation. Jim Mora and Rosen clashed. So that's why, maybe Todd Bowles can really hang around for a little while. But I look at Sam, and I guess Teddy Bridgewater's not going to be available for preseason. I just want to see this kid play a ton of ball in the preseason.
Yeah, Sam Darnold needs a lot of snaps. I want to see a lot of snaps. And if he sucks and if he's throwing picks left and right, completely okay. I mean, you take a look back, Jameis Winston's rookie season along with Marcus Mariota's, week 1, Winston, I believe, threw 4 interceptions against Mariota, and Mariota threw 4 TDs. And I remember talking to a few Buccaneers fans, and they were saying, oh, my God, what the hell did we just get ourselves into? Jameis Winston is horrible, and he's a turnover machine, and we should have took Mariota because, look at, obviously he's balling. I think that's just a clear case of let the dust settle. Jameis Winston will be fine. Marcus Mariota will be fine. And, if Sam Darnold struggles early on, it's completely okay. As long as he learns from it. Do
you believe in the whole, rushing the guy out will ruin his career? I feel like if you're mentally tough enough, if you're skilled enough, you should be able maybe to overcome, certain adversities, if that makes sense. But maybe if your coaches are terrible, maybe that's one thing too.
Yeah, I do think it'll stunt the growth of certain players. I look at Geno Smith. I think he could have used a year or 2 on the bench before he was throwing picks left and right. I think if Aaron Rodgers was forced to play early on, he wouldn't be this good as he is today. Mm-hmm. Sitting behind Brett Favre, a great quarterback, and then having a great quarterback coaching staff around him, just sitting, learning, and just really breaking down the game mentally, not having the pressure of the fans on you. Really could just go out there and practice and kind of just play loose, and not everything is so tight, and you don't have to be perfect and go out there and be 24 of 25 for 3 touchdowns and 300 yards. You could just sit there and relax and just get better at your own pace and just grow. But some quarterbacks I do feel are ready. Like I felt like Jameis Winston was ready. I felt like Mariota, Andrew Luck, Carson Wentz. Jared Goff wasn't ready, okay?
Yeah.
And, that was clear under Jeff Fisher. Goff was not ready to play, and they just threw him out there, and he just got eaten alive. So now, you take a look at Sean McVay and whatnot and having a full camp, and he was more prepared, So it is what it is.
And you needed the rebuilding process with Jared. I'm trying to think of guys. Well, Trubisky was kind of perfectly placed. Some guys are just really perfectly placed. And then once you have those games, you're in the trust tree. Dak had the year. Once Derek Carr had a year, you almost need 1 year, and then you're almost like going to be in the fans' good graces. Then you're just going to be the established quarterback. And actually, we do have a lot of guys around the NFL that are actually established now as we look forward here. But I am just so intrigued. I was going to ask you a little bit more about the Jets, and then we could turn to a couple of other battles here with the draft and a couple of other things. I look at this offensive line of the Jets. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of big-name guys. Are you worried about this offensive line?
I am pretty worried about the O-line, but I will say, I guess the light at the end of the tunnel, a lot of the Jets' problems on the offensive line last season came from the interior, stemming from the center position, and that's a position that we replaced with a pretty good player in Spencer Long from the Washington Redskins. So I'm hoping that kind of transition or that upgrade at that position kind of makes the whole offensive line as a unit better. So to answer your question, I am worried about it, but I am going into the season with higher hopes than I was, last season.
JC, what teams in the NFL draft? I'm going to switch gears here.
Yeah,
what teams in the NFL draft won the NFL draft, and what's a team that nobody's talking about that's going to make the playoffs and surprise? Like, who's this year's New Orleans Saints to you when you look at this league? Okay,
your first question, I'm going to say the winners are the Cincinnati Bengals. Fantastic draft. Okay, Billy Price trading back in the draft to snag Cordy Glenn. You're getting 2 nice offensive line pieces. Love that. Sam Hubbard, Malik Jefferson, Mark Walton, Jesse Bates. Auden Tate in the 7th round. The Bengals did a really, really nice job. I think Marvin Lewis knows how to, recruit or scout players. Baltimore, I think, did a nice job. Orlando Brown fell to them. You touched on it earlier, the 2 tight ends with Hurst and Andrews, and they also snagged Anthony Everett, the corner from Alabama, which I really liked. And then Lamar Jackson, who they hope is their franchise guy moving forward.
It's a splashy draft for sure, the Baltimore draft. And then, the Ohio State kids like Hubbard, might be questioned for his athleticism like Joey Bosa was. But,
right.
I don't think it's too risky. Malik Jefferson, too. You took them at the right spots,
Yeah, they didn't reach on any players unless you were talking about Billy Price, but the only way you're reaching on him is because of an injury. It's not because of his play. It's not because of his attitude or love for the game or anything like that. It's just he had an injury at the combine. He might not be ready to play in, day one. Who are your winners?
The winners, I got to go with Denver for sure. But because I loved it, Cortland Sutton, Deshaun. We saw Deshaun at the Senior Bowl. That guy can cut on a dime. So now you have now you have Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, Cortland Sutton, and Demaryius Thomas. You have so many weapons there to choose from. Then they go ahead and get Royce Freeman, so they get the running back out of Oregon. Now this offense is really almost complete, and the defensively, you get Yiadom, you get Josie Jewell, who at linebacker is really going to help. It was a splashy draft, but the wide receiver talent was just tremendous. I loved every single pick that the Denver made in the draft.
Yeah, Denver did a beautiful job just orchestrating their way through the draft, not reaching on players, getting best player available, also filling needs. You look at Bradley Chubb falling to him at 5.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even mention that.
Yeah. I mean, I was actually reading a report that the Broncos had a deal in place with the Buffalo Bills. The Bills were going to come up to 5, and then as soon as Brad Chubb was there on the clock, as soon as the Browns took Denzel Ward, Denver called Buffalo and said, no thanks, we're not doing it. We're taking Bradley Chubb because he's a beast. So, right. Yeah, I think Denver did a great job.
I'm going to throw 2 teams out that I loved. I think this is my big sleeper team now that I look at this entire lineup. I think the Buccaneers could be a sleeper team. Because Jameis Winston, it's so quiet there. The guy, Jameis Winston, he balled out at the end of last year with Dirk Cutter. He really competed hard in these games, okay? And he's a guy that last year was all the hype. Mike Evans, Deshaun Jackson, he's getting drafted 5th round in fantasy. It was Jameis. But I've heard Jameis speak ultra-competitive guy, which I absolutely love from Jameis Winston. This team is so talented. Great. O.J. Howard another year, but Ronald Jones to me, could he be Kamara? He is the ultimate X factor, and this is a guy that could take it 80 yards to the house. But then, JC, you know about Gerald McCoy. He could be Defensive Player of the Year now because now they have Vita Vea to help out. They went to the Eagles and spent a crap load in free agency on Curry, on Bo Allen, Noah Spence out of Western Kentucky.
And your boy JPP.
Exactly. You build from the inside out, right, JC? So this team, I mean, then Levante David, Quan Alexander, these are guys that you know. At Carlton Davis in the secondary.
Yeah, Carlton Davis, VH3. VH3, I want to see some improvement at the 3 or the nickel spot, but I like him.
Yeah. At number 9, yeah. And see, what's his name? Well, they got this MJ Stewart out of North Carolina, a lot more competition. Just every hole's almost filled now. They're almost ready to rock and roll, ready to go.
Yeah, I know you just asked me that question a little bit before. Who are the sleeper teams that, I could see kind of making an impact or a huge impact this year in 2018? And I was going to say the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think they got a lot nastier, overall. I mean, you look at guys like JPP and Vinny Curry. You add Vea. They were able to trade back in the draft a few times. They got Carlton Davis. They got a bunch of former first-round picks on this team that haven't really lived up to the expectation. But I think overall the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have everything in place. It's just going to come down to really 3 things. The running game, if Jameis can take care of the football, and then the coaching staff. In-game situations such as clock management, play calling, just that kind of stuff. If all 3 of those things can really get fixed, then I think the Buccaneers are good enough to be 10-6 or 11-5.
And it's a tough schedule. This is kind of like a make it or break it year for these Buccaneers. And everybody talks about Derek Carr and Goff and Dak, but Jameis is the forgotten guy. So I wanted to ask you, though, JC, I'm not going to spoil it. What did you think about Chicago, the Bears?
The Bears, I think they aced the draft. Quick shout out to Josh from the Sports Fury, huge Bears fan. But they were able to address linebacker, a position of need, Roquan Smith, a top 10 pick. My favorite pick that the Bears had, Anthony Miller in the 3rd round. I thought that was beautiful. You can't forget about James Daniels from Iowa, the center who can also play guard. I love it. I love the Chicago Bears draft.
Oh, yeah. I just think that those 3 picks, like James Daniels and then Anthony, like we talked about, their team's fun now. Trey Burton, Matt Nagy, so much positive energy. So
Allen
Chicago
Robinson.
Yeah. Chicago's making the leap, man, and it's just so much fun. I mean, on paper, there's a lot of winners. I guess we could talk about – I kind of want to bounce a couple more topics off of you. We're here with Jetscentral here, and I guess one of the bigger topics is Pittsburgh's draft. Mason Rudolph, James Washington, Marcel Aitman does not get picked. Big Ben's comments about Mason. What do you think about that whole situation there?
I don't necessarily think the Pittsburgh Steelers had a great draft, but I love the Mason Rudolph pick, and I think Big Ben has to understand that if you flirt with retirement all the time, you cannot blame the organization for drafting a young quarterback. I mean, New England does it a lot. You saw Green Bay go out and get my guy, Deshaun Kaiser. Big Ben, I mean, Tom Brady's not saying to the media like, "Oh, I want to retire and I might be done," and neither is Aaron Rodgers and neither is Drew Brees. But you see those players right now, they don't really complain if the team goes out and gets a young quarterback. So Roethlisberger, I think Mason Rudolph has a beautiful fit for Pittsburgh, and with the offense, running the shotgun, and obviously you have all those great players, AB, Le'Veon, and whatnot. Now James Washington as well, Juju. I love that pick, but I think overall, I don't really like the Steelers draft.
I agree. And Terrell Edmonds, I think, was rated pretty low on the board, actually, for a lot of guys around the NFL. Can I ask you real quick? I did a video tonight. I think that the New York Giants can be better than Dallas this year. What do you think about Dallas? We talked a little bit off air about the Cowboys, but the Giants, I loved what the Giants did. I think that they're more talented than the Cowboys. What do you think? Do you think that the Cowboys can still kind of compete with the Giants?
The New York Giants really did a nice job this offseason addressing needs. You look at Nate Solder, you look at Will Hernandez. Those two guys are going to be key for the engine of the New York Giants to move. The offensive line is the X factor. If the O-line is garbage like it has been, then it's going to be another train wreck season. I could see 6-10. But if this offensive line plays a lot better, I could see the New York Giants being 9-7, 10-6. You look at Saquon Barkley, you're getting Odell Beckham back, Shepard, and overall, the Giants did lose some pieces, on defense with Jason Pierre-Paul, and you don't really know what's going on with Eli Apple and Janoris Jenkins. Is he coming off an injury, right?
Jenkins, well, yeah, and the suspension.
Yeah.
So last year, that's almost like I have amnesia towards last year,
Yeah, and they're switching over to a 3-4 defense under James Betcher, new DC. So it's going to be interesting on the defensive side, but I think if the offensive line can play or protect Eli Manning and can really just get a nice push up front, I really think this Giants team can be a 10-6 squad.
JC, I love bouncing around the NFL with you, man. Next time, I'm even going to have some specific, maybe college football debates that we're going to talk about. Last question for you, JC. I promise it's the last one. Again, everybody follow Jetscentral. He's so kind to join us and talk football. It's as much fun talking football with JC as pretty much anybody. Baker Mayfield, you're a big Tyrod guy. When is Baker going to see the field? What week? Do you think it's going to be later than a lot of people think?
I don't know. I really, really like this Browns team, and I really like Greg Williams, and I really like Todd Haley, but I cannot stand Hugh Jackson. People think the Browns, they don't have any players. That's why they lose games. But when you actually look at the team, they have some great players. And they had great players last season with Collins and Garrett, and I could go down the list of how many nice, solid, real NFL players the Cleveland Browns had. Okay, I mean, the Browns have a better roster than the Jets. The Browns have a better roster than the 49ers, but yet they went 0-16. And a lot of those losses came from Hugh Jackson, wasting timeouts early, not knowing what to do on third downs, declining penalties when you should accept them, going for it in unideal situations, missing field goals, fumbling snaps, interceptions, all this stuff. I think it really comes down to Hugh Jackson, and I think he will be gone midway through next season. So I think if the Cleveland Browns want to solve this quarterback, debacle that they have, you got to keep Tyrod Taylor in the game, let him do his thing, let Baker Mayfield kind of sit and learn, like I said, and when he's ready, and if Tyrod is struggling, then put Baker Mayfield in. What are your thoughts on it?
There's so many boomer bust players on this team. Everyone wants to crown David Njoku. He hasn't done anything yet. He could be him and Rico Gavers, I kind of view the exact same way. I'm just waiting to see. I'm waiting. Evan Ingram, I at least saw. Antonio Callaway is one of the most intriguing players to ever watch in the NFL. Same with Josh Gordon. So that lineup is as polarizing as ever. Could be as fun and devastating of an offense. I didn't love the Nick Chubb pick. I know he was tremendous at Georgia. I know he's a wonderful guy. I just don't know if he has the biggest upside like at the running back position. But you had him and Duke Johnson. It's not horrible, but it's not like a Ronald Jones that I would have went with. Even Geis is more talented. So they're just guys like Rashad Penny would have been even a lot nicer for Cleveland. I look at Baker. He's such a competitor, but I think it's going to be week 5 as well. I think Tyrod's definitely holding down this thing. They're not even letting it be an open comp. It's so different from what the Bills and Jets are doing. Everybody else, even the Cardinals, are letting the rookie guys just go in and totally get their chance to win the gig, especially McCagnon, really adamant about that. The Browns are going completely in the other direction with John Dorsey. I think Dorsey and Haley can work together too, but I think it's week 5 at least. Hugh Jackson is so close-minded. He's scarred up from DeShone Kizer for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And you take a look at Hugh Jackson. He doesn't win. I feel like he has a lot of false promises. With the Cody Kessler pick, taking him way too high and then not even answering questions about it, just saying, trust me, like I know what I'm doing, and then he doesn't pan out and he's not even on the team anymore. You take a look at DeShone Kizer, who I love, and he was not ready to play. Okay, at 21 years old, he's not ready to play. And hell, even Brian Kelly, his coach at Notre Dame, said this guy should stay another year at Notre Dame. He comes out anyway, and it is what it is. But there was no forcing him to play right away, and they did that. And not only did he play right away and was forced into the starting role with no veteran quarterback, nobody to help out other than Cody Kessler, but he led the NFL in pass attempts at 21 years old, and people are so quick to write him off. So another mistake.
And then he hooked him.
Yeah, and then he just booted him away. So another mistake by Hugh Jackson, another wasted – I mean, that's a third-round pick and a second-round pick. You could have got 2 really good players as opposed to 2 quarterbacks that you just dealt away that still have an upside, but you just couldn't make it work. So
absolutely.
I have zero confidence in Hugh Jackson, zero.
They always get their cracks at the apple, and it's exciting with Baker being there now. JC, thanks so much for coming on, man. It's a blast getting you on the show, and take care, man.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me. Always appreciate it.